It was a must-win situation for the LA Clippers in Dallas, not trying to go down 3-1 going back to LA. Without Kawhi Leonard, they would need huge performances by James Harden and Paul George, and they got them. With the season virtually on the line, Paul George and James Harden showed up with 33 points apiece. Going to be talking about this Clipper win as the home court advantage returns to LA on today's Locked On Clippers. Yeah!
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA and in my 19th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more NBA content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, where I want you to let me know anything about the game on this channel. And then on Locked On Mavs, I just want you to say, guess who's got home court again? ? And just say Clips in 6 or 7, whatever you predicted before the series started. Can't be Clips in 5. Told you guys this was not going to be I told Mavs fans the same thing. It's not going to be a 5-game or less series. This is going to be a dogfight. Now, before we talk about this dogfight in Game 4, which was the best game of the series, most entertaining from a neutral perspective, and of course, a Clipper perspective. This episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go, the best board game ever. You can now be played on your mobile device. All you got to do is download it now for free on the Google Play or the App Store. Now, let's talk about this one. It's all about the stars, really. You know, Kawhi Leonard was out, and I was actually happy to hear that, and it felt like Clipper Nation was collectively kind of happy to hear that, and I don't mean that the wrong way. We just saw the way Kawhi looked, and I think everybody could see that that was not the Kawhi Leonard that Mavs fans or Clipper fans know. And we looked more fluid without him, you know, because when he was playing in games 2 and 3, we were trying to get him involved and trying to get him back in a rhythm, and it was really stagnating our offense as well. And he just wasn't that guy on either end of the floor. I mean, his reaction time to everything was not like him in Game 3. So we made the right decision of sitting him, and they said that we have no timetable for his return. So I would assume he's not going to play for the rest of the series, which is, 1, extremely unfortunate, but 2, better for the team right now. 2-0 without him, 0-2 with him. James Harden has been unbelievable in the 2 games that Kawhi hasn't played. And Paul George was good in the first one, exceptional in this one. And just let's start talking about those guys right away. I mean, the season was on the line today. Or yesterday. The season was on the line. They brought it when we needed it most. Clippers, it just was a 3-point barrage. That's how we started the game. It was a 3-point barrage for us. 39-16 in the first quarter. And the Mavs, kind of like Game 1, just couldn't make anything. But I thought our defensive intensity was so great. Terrence Mann, he has been so exceptional on Luka Doncic throughout the series. And I know Luka was questionable to play, but we're not going to be talking about injuries that much. Maybe Luka isn't 100%, but at this stage of the season, who really is? James Harden had a shoulder stinger late in the season. I didn't make excuses for him. Kawhi Leonard didn't play well last game. I didn't really make excuses for him. I think when you're hurt, don't play. If you're hurt, no excuses. You're out there on the court. And Luka Doncic still had a triple-double. But I don't know. If you're a Mavs fan and you're pleased with the way Luka Doncic is playing, then you're being ridiculous. Because this is one of the best players in the NBA. Some people think he's actually the best player in the NBA. I think Jokic is very clearly the best player in the NBA right now. But Luka's up there. And as a Clipper fan, he's not doing what he did to us before. Yet, at least. I mean, and Terrence Mann, I want to say it's so much because of Terrence. And Russ has done a very good job as well at times guarding him. Coffee, not bad as well. And James Harden, I mean, in this game, you know it's going to be just it's so funny what this series is becoming. It's like James Harden attacking Luka on one end and then Luka attacking James Harden on the other end. And they get, so many comparisons to each other because they're pick and roll mastery and the step back three and, the dribbling and all that. But it's been very interesting in that regard. Paul George, I just love the way he started out this game. It reminded me of earlier in the season when James would kind of just initiate from the top for a little bit, and then he would go into pick and roll. It wasn't so heavy, like ball pounding like the last two games. So even before James Harden started hitting his shots, I thought just the pace that he was playing at was so much better, which makes me think that, you know what? For all the, what's the word? For all the ished I give James Harden for stagnating our offense at times and slowing down the pace, Kawhi Leonard may slow it down just as much, if not more. Because the pace that Harden's played at in the first game and this game was great. He was pushing the ball. I like the quick passes. I like the downhill, mindset. Let's get downhill. Let's get 2 feet in the paint. Let's turn the corner on these guys. And he did it all game. But Paul George in the first quarter, I just keep going back and forth between James Harden and Paul George and all the great things that they did in this game. But Paul George's shot making in the first quarter, and just the whole game, but mainly in the first quarter, insane. Insane. The 3-ball was falling, but I just liked his approach. He was getting stuff off the ball as well, coming off screens, working quickly off the catch. When you bring Paul George off that curl, and you send your big man out to prevent him from just coming off a screen for a shot, he hits the roller, the big man, Zoo or Plumlee, and they're right around the basket a lot of times. So we got that basket that Russell Westbrook scored late in the game, that was off that action. Threw 2 at Paul George, off the curl, threw it to Mason Plumlee, extra pass, Russell Westbrook. But Paul George, 16 points in the first quarter, 6 for 9 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3. He played the entire first quarter. And then James Harden in the second quarter was just attacking Luka relentlessly, got hot from 3 as well. And he's been shooting so well from 3 in this series. But I just liked how he was putting pressure on the defense, putting pressure on Luka to guard. 5 for 6 in the second quarter, 3 for 3 from deep, 13 points for him. And Paul George added 10 of his own. So at halftime, even though the Clippers led by as many as 31, we were up 66-49 at half. And it was partially because we started cooling down towards the end of the half, and Kyrie Irving was starting to get stuff going for him in transition. He's so lethal with that pull-up 3, and then going downhill, he gets so creative with the handle. Kyrie has been the Mavs' best player in this series, at least for me. It's, as a Clipper fan, I think most Clipper fans would agree, it's been tough to deal with him. He's shown up. And I talked about that he was going to show up in this series because the situation is so ideal for him to thrive. And, man, some of the stuff he was doing was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It's great as a basketball fan just to, Clippers won. I should say as a Clipper fan. Clippers won. Obviously, I would prefer if Kyrie had 0 points and they lost by 50. But, am I going to be mad if we win and Kyrie put on an amazing show for basketball fans everywhere around the world, but the Clippers still won? It doesn't get much better than that. And Luka had a stinker. I don't dislike Luka Doncic at all, but we have beef with Luka, you know what I mean? 3 times we play the guy. It's annoying. I have the utmost respect for him, but it's annoying. I like seeing him struggle. You know who didn't struggle though? Paul George. Except for in the third quarter when we were getting reckless with the ball. And a lot of it was just the Mavs added defensive pressure. Again, I thought Derek Lively was a problem. Real problem. Does a good job guarding on the pick and roll. Decent job shot blocking. And a great job rim running. The main thing was, the Clippers had, in the third quarter, 7 turnovers. Right? 3 for PG. And then 1 from Russ, 1 from Harden, 1 from Terrence Mann, and 1 from Amir. And the Mavs, they pushed the pace on those. They really pushed the pace on those. And that fast pace, it favors Kyrie Irving. It favors Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Washington. Basically everyone but Luka. And the same way I talked about James Harden in games 2 and 3, at times taking a lot of the shot clock up dribbling and stagnating the offense, Luka Doncic did the same thing for them, in my opinion. And Terrence has done such a good job of staying attached to Luka on his hip as he's snaking that pick and roll. And Luka, he keeps trying to weave and snake that pick and roll and get Terrence Mann in jail by putting him on his back and then pump fake and get him in the air. And Terrence is doing such a good job of getting back in front and staying disciplined and not really going up like that. And yes, they are allowing some physicality, of course. I know Mavs fans are going to complain about that in the comments already. But look, the third quarter, some of the calls, nothing was going our way. Clipper fans were pissed about calls. And again, I do not talk about calls that much. But the third quarter was egregious, in my opinion. And, I mean, that crowd was going nuts. Credit to the Mavs fans. They were loud, sounded like on TV. But it was I was a little bit nervous that we wouldn't be able to bring it home. But for some reason, I had a feeling that we would make one more push because it was just our game. We were hitting the 3 ball, and Paul George and Harden were on it. And how about the way James Harden closed this game? We're going to be talking about what he did that was so special and kind of just hilarious coming up. I got to tell you a little something about Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is perfect for city drives and great escapes. Class exclusive Google built-in is your always updating assistant to call on for almost anything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment system. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect mid-size crossover for your next adventure. Nissan's incredible lineup also includes the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder. It has room up to 8, an expansive cargo capacity, and advanced available 4x4 capability. With 284 horsepower and up to 6,000 pounds towing, when adventure calls, the Pathfinder is there to answer. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop nissanusa.com. This episode is also brought to you by Monopoly Go. All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You already talked about that. But there's just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something to discover in Monopoly Go. To get off the bench and go download it now, free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. All right. Clippers winning this one. Game 4. Getting home court advantage back to LA for a best of 3 series with 2 home games in LA if need be. Clippers winning this one 116 to 111. And we are definitely letting it ride over on this side, aren't we? Oh, I wish I had that little, still don't have as cool of an intro as Locked On Mavs, sadly. We need an upgraded intro. That new one, I don't know if that cuts it for me. I think we need some Ralph Lawler, some Brian Seaman in that intro. They got Mark Followell in theirs. Got Kevin Harlan and Mike Breen in there. Come on, man. We need an upgraded intro. Anyway, James Harden closing this game was absolutely masterful. The third quarter, it was not enough from James or Paul. These guys were scorching hot in the first half. Let me just tell you how scorching hot they were in the first half. Paul had 26 points at halftime. Oh my God. 9 for 14 from the field, 6 for 9 from 3. And look, normally I don't love him shooting 9 out of his 14 shots being threes, but when he's scorching out like that, and some of them are off screens, it just didn't feel like the exact same. I'll take it. They felt more in rhythm, just shots that he earned. I don't remember having much of a problem with any of his shots. That step back he had on Derek Lively, though, in the first half to put us up, I believe, 21 points. Unreal. 26 points for Paul at halftime. I liked his approach, though, overall. And James Harden's approach I loved as well, as I mentioned. 18 points, 5 assists in the first half, 6 for 8 from the field, 4 for 4 from 3. And you just knew that Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving were going to look to target him a lot. And Luka Doncic, especially, being the guy that is on the ball more, was targeting him. And James was standing up to the task. And against Luka, for the most part, he has stood up to the task this series. Luka hasn't been able to get around him, and Luka can't bully him. So, as much as Harden struggles with Kyrie Irving's speed, he does a very good job on Luka, and Luka keeps going at him. Well, guess what? It's not working too well. And then on the other end, this is where, so I was going to talk about the third quarter real quick before I talked about the closing from James Harden. But the third quarter, James and Paul went from having a combined 44 points at halftime. Third quarter, Paul George shot 3 times, 1 for 3, and he played the entire quarter. Amir Coffey also played the entire quarter. And Zubats played all but 38 seconds. Zubats shot 7 times in the third. James Harden shot once. But by the way, one thing I thought Ty Lue did a good job of was James Harden got but much longer rest periods when he came out. And I think that really helped him have extra juice at the end of the game. But yeah, James Harden and Paul George only taking 4 shots in the third quarter combined. That is not what we needed, especially with the way that they were shooting the ball. And in the third quarter, the Mavs, as I said, they made their run, but this is where a great team shows that they're great. You know a home team is going to make a run, especially when you have a lead that early. You know they're going to make a push. But being able to withstand that push and fight that crowd right on top of you and make the big plays offensively to shut them up, that is what makes a great team. And James Harden, late in the game, it was just targeting Luka. Come here, Luka. And I've labeled this segment Luka Doncic. Sorry, Mavs fans. I know he played great defense in games 2 and 3. Mainly game 2. But this was just food. Every single time James Harden saw Luka, and every single time James Harden has seen Luka this series, his eyes have been seeing green. It is open season for us with that matchup. He was getting in the paint, and as I said, I love the floaters. That's a shot that he has not been making this season and not been taking enough this season, even though it was an absolute layup in Houston and layup throughout his career. And it's funny because he hasn't even been making it when he's been taking it as much this season, but he was making it when it counted over and over. 5 for 5 in the fourth. He was actually, I think he was 6 for 6. No, he was 6 for 8 in the fourth quarter, but 5 for 5 in crunch time, 5 minutes, under 5 minutes. And they were all floaters. James played the whole fourth. Norm played the whole fourth. And Paul played the whole fourth. Norm, in my opinion, had his best game of the series. I know his stats won't do that, won't back me up on that because he had more points in game 3. But I just thought he did less things wrong. Just 1 turnover, not really any bad decisions. Got buckets, made a nice shot at the end of the first quarter. 11 points on 4 for 8 shooting and 3 for 5 from 3 for him. But the way James Harden abused Luka Doncic was amazing. And then the Mavs were pre-switching. So trying to keep Luka Doncic out of the action because he had 5 fouls. And let me just say this. Yes, he had 5 fouls and that made it easier to get around him. Yes, he might not be 100%. That made it easier to get around him. But okay, I still don't know if fully healthy Luka Doncic is lucking up James Harden. And when James Harden's making the 3 ball like he's making right now, you got to press up on him a little bit, and that opens up the driving for him. And the way he revived himself kind of from that rough stretch, and now he's kind of got his burst back and is looking closer to what he was looking like in December and January. Really, he has been. I mean, he hasn't had a game under 20 points in this series. So now I would say through 4 games, he's been our best player in this series, which I did not expect at all. So I got to salute him for sure. The floater game was big time towards the end, but the fact that they were pre-switching, trying to prevent Luka from getting in the action, and James still got by PJ Washington, who, for all, unbiased purposes, he's been doing well in this series defensively, but I don't know if he can guard James Harden on the perimeter. I don't think he's as much of a point of attack guy as he is more of a guy to guard bigger forwards, maybe that low block, helping the big man at the rim. But what also made it easier was that Dallas went with that small ball lineup that they beat us with in game 2 with Maxi Kleber at the 5, PJ Washington at the 4. And so when James Harden is getting the step and when they're forcing him into the help, they don't have a real rim protector. No Gafford, no Lively. And in my opinion, Derek Lively, if I were Jason Kidd, Derek Lively should be playing way more because he's actually shown a really strong ability to switch on a Harden and Paul George in the perimeter, and his rim running is really problematic, and he's super athletic, even more so than Gafford. But I hope he does. I hope Jason Kidd does not play him at all. Like, he's very minimal minutes. I don't know if he's on a minutes restriction or anything, but yeah, that when James Harden's getting to the basket like that, they have no rim protection. And you know what was amazing too? Paul George's shot in the corner over Derrick Jones to put us up by 2, because the Mavs went up after Kyrie Irving was making these ridiculous shots, deep 3, and that layup where he hung in the air and was, over 3 Clipper players or 4 Clipper players was like unbelievable. But that shot by PG, so cold, absolutely like ice. And yeah, the moral of the story is James Harden picking on Luka Doncic over and over again. Over and over again. We saw green. We feasted on it. James Harden was magnificent. He had 33 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, a steal and a block, and 2 turnovers. 12 for 17 shooting, 4 for 5 from 3, 5 for 5 from the foul line in 40 minutes, so not 44 minutes. I liked it. He was my player of the game because of the way he closed. But Paul George, you can make an argument for as well. His defense was very solid throughout the game. 33 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 4 steals, 1 block. He did have 4 turnovers, though, on 11 for 19 shooting. 7 for 10 from 3 is crazy. But 4 for 7 from the foul line, I didn't like that. In 43 minutes, PG-13. When the critics were the loudest, he answered the bell. 116-111, the Clippers win it. They outscore the Mavs 34-33 in the 4th after getting outscored 29-16 in the 3rd. Coming up, going to be talking about how the Clippers are going to proceed without Kawhi, and also going to briefly talk about the performances of the other guys. Going to be talking about that coming up. I got to tell you a little something about DoorDash. Funny enough, I'm actually getting DoorDash right now after I finish this episode. And DoorDash is not just about food late night. You want to make your mom smile? Start Mother's Day with flowers or surprise her with gifts from the brands she loves, delivered the very same day with DoorDash. Moms are a gift, so give her the best this Mother's Day. Get gifts as thoughtful as she is with DoorDash. Does mom have a sweet tooth? Is she a tech enthusiast, a beauty connoisseur, or is she outdoorsy? No matter what she's into, you can make her smile with a fruit or flower bouquet, makeup, tech gear, workout wear, and more. Get all your Mother's Day gifts all in one place. Get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 plus on your next flower, convenience, grocery, or retail order now with the code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. All right. So let's talk about how we're going to proceed without Kawhi. Mainly, I think it's better we proceed without him, to be honest, in this series. We look better without him in the series. These other guys are finding a little rhythm together. We've been kind of used to playing without him for the last couple of weeks. And James Harden's been exceptional without him. And it also forces Paul George to be a little bit more aggressive. So we're just going to have to do what we do and what we've been doing, which is play through Paul and James Harden, hopefully get a little bit better from Russell Westbrook. So I want to talk about Russ. Russ, I thought he had a good first half Defensively, he was very active, keeping possessions alive. But his offense throughout the game was very shaky. There was one bad shot he took in the first half that we didn't need. No pass possession. The turnover where he was trying to pass to James Harden on the right wing, but he threw it away. And then, again, I have no problems with his defense at all. It wasn't flawless, but it was good. His activity's great. But he needs, and he didn't shoot he was 1 for 2 from 3, but just some of the shots felt out of control. And there was a stretch late in that third quarter that was just brutal. Or was it the fourth quarter? I think it might have been the fourth quarter. And it was brutal, and I remember everybody on Twitter was just going at him. And it was one of those where he could have cost us the game if he hadn't kind of cleaned it up those last 2 minutes before he came out. He had that drive to the basket where he missed the layup, but he drew a help defender, which allowed, I believe, Zubats to put it back up and in. By the way, Mason Plumlee gave us some really good minutes. Really good minutes. 6 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks for Mace. 3 for 3 from the field in 14 minutes, which was awesome production from him. But Russ did that. Then he got the ball flashing in the middle when they double-teamed James Harden and found, I believe, Mason Plumlee for a bucket. And then Mason Plumlee returned the favor to him on that set I talked about earlier. So Russell Westbrook, I still think he was effective in ways, but he had some rough stretches. I know a lot of people are going to disagree and say that was terrible and I'm defending him and whatnot. But truly, I mean, look, 5 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 2 turnovers. Doesn't sound very good. 2 for 8 from the field sounds horrendous. 1 for 2 from 3, 0 for 2 from the foul line. But he was a +7 on the court. And I'm not living and dying by plus minus. All I'm saying it wasn't a liability in my opinion. I think he still showed some good stuff off the ball. And defensively, very strong the entire series. I talked about Norman Powell, 11 points on 4 for 8 shooting, 3 for 5 from 3 in 32 minutes. Amir Coffey started in place of Kawhi. Thought he was decent. Made 2 mid-ranges. Pretty solid defense. 2 for 5 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3, 4 points, 3 boards in 23 minutes. Terrence Mann, I mean, his defense has just been so exceptional. The one thing I don't like, though, is he's 3 for 6 from 3, and he's still hesitating. It's very frustrating. Keep letting it fly, T. Come on. But the fact that his defense was kind of mediocre this season, especially for his standards, and his offense was what was picking up towards the end of the season, and now in the playoffs, he's having his best defensive series yet. It's so funny. But one thing about Terrence, you just know he's going to show up when it matters. Zoo, very solid game again for him. Probably his least good game of the 4, but he's probably been our most consistent player, in my opinion. In each game, he's been strong on both ends of the floor. 13 points, 4 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, and a block, and 1 turnover. He only got hit with 1 3 by Luka when he switched onto him, and we weren't deliberately trying to switch Zoo onto him. But sometimes Zoo and Plumlee, once or twice, were on the perimeter guarding Luka on a late switch or whatever, or cross-matched in transition. And Zoo has done such a solid job in isolation defending Luka so far in this series, which you did not say in 2021. That's how he got played off the floor. So it's just amazing how bipolar this Clipper team can be. Some games they look like absolute world beaters, and like Sunday. Then other games they look old and slow, and not hungry. Just an amazing game, though, and it was just a great display of shot making all the way around from Kyrie, from Harden, from Paul George. Kyrie Irving had 40 points. 40 points. But lost the game. 14 for 25 from the field for him, 6 for 12 from 3. Luka had a triple-double, 29, 10, and 10. I'm not moved. We'll take the win. Coming back to LA, baby. Best of 3 series now. We just got to win Game 5. If we lose Game 5, I don't know if we'll have Kawhi there to save us, but we'll see how it goes. We got 2 days before then, so that you know what that means. 2 episodes, one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday. You already know how it goes. 116 to 111. What a huge win for the boys. So proud of them. Showed so much fight. I'm telling you, that mark of a great team. You got to withstand the run. It would have been a 31-point comeback and collapse, and we've been on the other side of that against Golden State in 2019. And, of course, that amazing one against Memphis in 2012, Game 1. But thank God we were not joining that list. got the job done, withstood the run. Thank you, James Harden. Thank you, Paul George. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dime Dropper Pod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper content. I went live directly after the game, and every single NBA playoff game I try to talk about on there. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Let me know what you thought. And remember to go comment on Locked On Mavs. We got home court advantage again. Hashtag Clippers in 6 or 7, wherever you picked. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers.